Tonight, Illustrated Mythos revisits ancient accounts, moments described as extraordinary in the old writings. They threw him into a pit expecting screams. But when the stone was rolled back at dawn, there was only silence. And a man untouched among lions that should have torn him apart. His name was Daniel, and what happened that night remains one of the most astonishing accounts in biblical history. In the book of Daniel, the prophet is condemned for praying to his God in defiance of a royal decree. As punishment, he is cast into a den of lions, a place designed not just for execution, but for spectacle. Lions kept intentionally hungry would guarantee a swift, brutal end. Yet the record says that as the night deepened, an angel descended and shut the lions' mouths, rendering the beast harmless. For centuries, scholars wrestled with the story. Some saw it as divine intervention, others as symbolism for faith under empire. But ancient Persian archives note that lions used for royal punishment were never tamed. They were wild, aggressive, and fed sparingly. Survival was not just unlikely, it was impossible. Archaeologists have uncovered lion pit structures across the ancient Near East. Stone enclosures, deep shafts, and feeding ramps designed to ensure absolute danger. These were not metaphors. Daniel was placed into a very real death chamber. Some historians point to another clue. The text says the lions did not harm him, because innocence was found in him, a theological detail. Yet others wonder if Daniel's account describes something more literal. A presence, a force, or an entity that pacified the predators instantly. Ancient Jewish writings outside the main canon even describe the angel as a radiant figure, brighter than flame, standing between Daniel and the beasts. If this account is taken historically, then something extraordinary happened that night. An event witnessed by guards, recorded by scribes, and preserved by multiple traditions across centuries. Whether miracle, mystery, or intervention beyond human understanding, Daniel's survival became a symbol of protection woven deep into biblical memory. And as with many ancient accounts, what happened inside that pit may have been seen by only one man, but felt by the world ever since. Perhaps the real question is not how the lions were silenced, but who else may still be watching when the stone is rolled away? They say the sky answered him with flame. On a mountain where hundreds gathered, a lone prophet stepped forward and dared the impossible. He challenged fire itself. His name was Elijah, and his confrontation on Mount Carmel became one of the most dramatic moments in the Old Testament. Israel stood divided. King Ahab had embraced Baal, the Canaanite storm god said to command lightning. To prove the truth, Elijah called for a test. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices, and a single challenge. The God who answers by fire, he is God. The prophets of Baal chanted from morning to dusk, calling for lightning, for sparks, for anything. Nothing came. Their altar remained silent stone. Then Elijah stepped forward. He rebuilt the Lord's altar, placed the sacrifice upon it, and did something unthinkable. He drenched everything in water. Once, twice, 3 times, enough to fill a trench around the stones. It was a gesture meant to erase all doubt. If fire appeared now, it could not be trickery. The scriptures say Elijah prayed a single sentence, and fire descended from the heavens with such force that it consumed the offering, the stones, and even the water. Some biblical historians point out that this description resembles a lightning strike of extraordinary intensity. Yet no storm is recorded that day. Others note that the fire did more than ignite. It vaporized. A burst of energy beyond anything natural. Ancient Jewish writings describe the moment as accompanied by a voice like thunder, while the Septuagint translation uses a word hinting at radiant heat. Was it miracle, meteoric impact, or something beyond ancient understanding? Interpreted through the language of divinity, Elijah's victory reshaped Israel's spiritual landscape. A single display of fire silenced the prophets of Baal and restored a fractured faith. But the event left a lingering question. Why would fire answer a man? And why only then? Some believe it was divine intervention. Others see it as symbolic narrative crafted after the fact. Yet the record claims witnesses stood on that mountain, saw the fire fall and felt its heat. History can debate, faith can interpret. But the moment Elijah raised his hands on Mount Carmel, something answered. And maybe it wasn't the fire that proved anything at all, but the silence that came before it. They say some prophecies are not written to warn us, but to wait for us. In 1943, inside a climate-sealed storeroom at the University of Istanbul, archivists uncovered a fragment of parchment unlike anything in their collection. The lettering was Syriac, the ink iron Gaul, and the fibers traced to the hills of ancient Edessa. It became known as the Scroll of Seven Dreams, a text so strange that even its catalog number was withheld for decades. The scroll describes a scholar who recorded 7 dreams over 7 nights, each vision carrying symbols that match real astronomical events. The first dream speaks of a wandering star crossing the lion's mouth, which historians now link to the recorded passage of Halley's Comet in 760 CE. The second dream describes a tower of smoke rising near the inland sea, matching contemporary accounts of a volcanic eruption in the Aegean. The third dream mentions the shadow that split the sun, a clear reference to the solar eclipse of 810 CE. What unsettled scholars most was that the scroll predates every one of these events. Its author, identified only as the Watcher of Nisibis, wrote in a tone more observant than mystical. Chemical analysis confirms the ink and parchment date between the 6th and 7th centuries. Marginal notes reference manuscripts from the School of Edessa, an institution known for translating Greek astronomy into Syriac. To many researchers, the scroll is simply an early example of celestial observation expressed through dream allegory. But a quieter theory lingers in academic circles. The fourth dream speaks of a river that loses its name, eerily matching the documented drawing of the Karakum tributaries centuries later. The fifth dream mentions a king who rises twice, a phrase found in medieval Armenian chronicles describing a ruler restored after death was declared. The sixth dream predicts the smoke that erases cities, a line some link, uncomfortably, to the earliest gunpowder descriptions translated into the region. And the seventh dream? It remains unreadable. A portion of the scroll is missing, torn cleanly along the grain. Researchers noted knife marks on the wooden case where the fragment once lay. Some believe the final dream predicted an event still approaching. Others insist it was removed to prevent the prophecy from shaping the future it described. Perhaps the truth is simpler. Maybe the 7 dreams were not predictions at all, but reflections. Echoes of cycles humanity forgets until they rise again. And if the missing dream still lies hidden in some forgotten archive, what exactly was it trying to stop us from seeing? They called it the Spear of Destiny, a weapon said to decide the fate of empires. But its story began in a single moment, on a hill outside ancient Jerusalem. As history tells it, a Roman soldier stood before a man named Jesus of Nazareth, who had been crucified. To confirm his death, the soldier raised his spear and pierced Jesus' side. The act was meant to end a task, yet that moment would echo through the centuries. The iron tip of the weapon was said to have been touched by something divine, an energy that lingered long after the soldier lowered his arm. From that day, the spear became more than a tool of war. It became a symbol of faith, of destiny, and of power. Legends spread that whoever possessed it would hold victory in battle and command over nations. As the centuries turned, the spear appeared and vanished from history, carried by kings, warriors, and conquerors. Charlemagne was said to wield it in his campaigns, never losing a battle until the day it slipped from his grasp. Frederick Barbarossa claimed it next, believing it made him unstoppable. Yet his empire crumbled soon after. Even in modern times, whispers followed it still, suggesting the spear always sought a new master when its previous one had fallen. Historians call these stories legends, born from faith and fear. Yet the artifact itself exists. The Spear of Destiny, also known as the Holy Lance, rests today in Vienna's imperial treasury. Its surface bears the weight of centuries, polished by time, wrapped in mystery. Scholars have examined its metal, tracing its age and origin, but no science can explain the influence it held over those who believed in it. Was the power truly within the weapon, or within the hearts of those who thought they were chosen by it? The Spear of Destiny remains one of history's greatest enigmas, a relic born in a moment of sorrow that went on to shape the legends of men who sought to command the world. They called him traitor. 30 pieces of silver, a kiss, and the fall of the Son of Man. But what if the man we condemned for treachery was never the villain at all? Hidden in the Egyptian desert for nearly 1,700 years, a fragile papyrus told a different story, one that shook the foundation of faith itself. It was called the Gospel of Judas. This text, written in Coptic around the 2nd century, portrays Judas not as betrayer, but as the only disciple who truly understood Jesus. In it, Christ confides in him alone, revealing cosmic secrets of realms, stars, and divine origins. Judas's betrayal, according to the gospel, was not sin, but obedience. By handing Jesus over, he fulfilled the will of the divine, freeing the spirit from its mortal shell. The manuscript surfaced in the 1970s, passed between smugglers and collectors before scholars restored its fading words. Carbon dating confirmed its antiquity. Yet, the Church distanced itself, calling it heresy. Another voice from the sea of Apocrypha. Still, some historians noted curious patterns. The Gospel's language mirrored Gnostic texts that saw creation as flawed and the physical world as a prison. Salvation then meant escape, not conquest. If true, Judas's act was not betrayal. It was sacrifice. A man chosen to play the villain so prophecy could unfold. The idea unsettled theologians, that a single narrative could invert centuries of doctrine. But for others, it humanized the divine story, transforming it from punishment to purpose, perhaps even love. Whether divine revelation or dangerous revision, the Gospel of Judas asks one forbidden question. What if history remembered only what heaven allowed? And what if salvation was written not by saints, but by the one man everyone swore to forget? In the silence before history, the Creator fashioned Adam from the earth's dust, breathing into him the breath of life. He awoke in Eden, a garden of pure light and sweet scents, tasked with its care and given dominion over all creatures. Yet amidst the wonders, Adam sensed a solitary ache. Recognizing this need, the Creator caused a deep sleep to fall upon him, and from his very side, crafted Eve. Adam awoke, looked upon her, bone of his bones, flesh of his flesh, and felt a profound sense of completeness. They walked in naked innocence, their hearts overflowing with unblemished love. Their days a tranquil dance of discovery and communion with their Maker. Their existence was defined by boundless freedom, constrained only by one sacred boundary, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This was the measure of their trust. One day, a seductive whisper, embodied by the serpent, introduced the shadow of doubt, urging Eve toward wisdom and godlike status. Tempted by the promise of transcendence, she ate, and then offered the fruit to Adam, who also ate. In that fatal bite, their eyes were opened, but not to the wisdom they sought. They saw their nakedness, and shame and fear became their first painful knowledge. The harmony of Eden was shattered. When the Creator called, they hid. The consequences were sorrowful but just. The serpent was cursed. Eve was given pain in childbirth and tension in her relationship, and Adam was doomed to toil in an earth now resistant with thorns and thistles. Mercifully, the Creator clothed them in skins, the first sign of sacrifice to cover their shame, and gently guided them out of Eden. The path to the tree of life was guarded, preventing them from living forever in a state of fallen anguish. Sent into a challenging world, they clung to one another. Their love, forged in innocence, was tempered into a resilient partnership of shared hardship and labor. They became the parents of all mankind, carrying the indelible memory of paradise and the unwavering, human-born hope for a promised day of redemption. Their story is the enduring tale of every soul's potential, choice, and journey toward restoration. Hi, it's Chinie. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe to get notified when a new story drops. It's also the best way to support our channel.